Chapter 1496. Without that strength, they could only seek for a sliver of opportunity in order to rise up. However, with the golden-winged Great Rock clan behind them, everything would be different. Du Xiaofu had never thought of using the golden-winged Great Rock clan to deal with the Great Luan sect, but he could take advantage of the situation. If he could not even deal with the Great Luan sect, how could he fight against legalism and devil religion in the future? As for relying on the golden-winged Great Rock clan, Du Xiaofu himself was now the young clan leader of the golden-winged Great Rock clan. How could he rely on his own clan? Du Xiaofu looked around. The 6 great formations had been broken and countless Sky Alliance troops had been rescued. However, the 6 formations had already killed many of the Heavenly Alliance's troops in the central province. Du Xiaofu's eyes rippled as he looked at the battlefield. Experts like Meng Ruquang were fighting in the air, while the Third Elder and the Great Luan Sect Ancestor were fighting in the sky. That kind of battle would ultimately affect the entire battle. The most important thing was the battle between the Third Elder and the Great Luan Sect Ancestor. The final victory or defeat between the two of them would be the final outcome of the battle. Massacre the Great Luan Sect. In the next moment, golden light shot out from Du Xiaofu's eyes. In the battle between the Third Elder and the revived Great Luan Sect Ancestor, this was the last chance to massacre the Great Luan Sect. When the final result was out, he would lose the chance to massacre the Great Luan Sect. Kill! Almost at the same time, in the Great Luan Sect, other than the 2 ancestors, Ming Su and Dao Su, the other 2 extraordinary old men who had started the ceremony shouted in unison. They seemed to have the same idea as Du Xiaofu. They wanted to kill the invaders as soon as possible while the experts of the golden-winged Great Rock clan were fighting with the Great Luan Sect Ancestor. Once the battle in the sky was over, it would be too late to take action. Chi La. The strength of the 2 old men was definitely not at the ordinary domain realm. After the battle cry sounded, one of the old men immediately pounced towards Du Xiaofu. The other one pounced towards the sacred array child, Zhen Qingchun. The 2 of them wanted to kill Du Xiaofu, who was the leader, as well as Zhen Qingchun, who was killing the Heavenly Alliance's army with the 6-wheel blood-killing formation. They wanted to break the formation by force. Boom! The speed of these 2 frightening experts was extremely fast. In an instant, they appeared in front of Du Xiaofu and Zhen Qingchun with a mighty aura. That mighty power was no small matter. It was not something that an ordinary person could block or stop. Be careful! The surrounding experts shouted. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air for Du Xiaofu and Zhen Qingchun, their eyes filled with fear. It's a grand domain realm cultivator. Xiaofu, retreat! Zhen Qingchun's expression changed as he shouted a warning to Du Xiaofu. In an instant he hid inside his 6 wheels blood-killing array. Du Xiaofu had already retreated, but the terrifying power had sealed the space. Carefree Steps, Rock of 10,000 Miles. Du Xiaofu used the Carefree Steps and Rock of 10,000 Miles to forcefully retreat in this space. Under that terrifying power, Du Xiaofu did not think of resisting. He was no match for them, so he could only escape. Is that the Carefree Steps? Seeing that Du Xiaofu was retreating in his sealed space, the old man was very surprised. At the same time, he was also surprised by the Carefree Steps that Du Xiaofu had just used. Rumble! Not far away, the earth and mountains shook, and the blood aura fluctuated in the sky. The other old man attacked Zhen Qingchun's 6 wheels blood-killing array, shaking it so much that it was on the verge of collapse. However, in the end, he was unable to forcefully break it open. Just as the terrifying 6-ring blood-killing array cracked open, blood-colored symbols immediately surged out and automatically repaired it. This caused the old man's expression to become extremely gloomy and ugly. So what if you're a grand domain realm cultivator? My 6 wheels blood-killing array is not so easy to break. Zhen Qingchun's curses and provocations came from within the 6 wheels blood-killing array. A grand domain realm expert is so terrifying. Hearing Zhen Qingchun's words, many people's eyes trembled. How many of the people present could step foot into the grand domain realm? Most people in this world had never even heard of that level. The old man snorted, his eyes gloomy. His every move carried a vast aura as he attacked the Six Wheels blood-killing array again. For this old man, the Six Wheels blood-killing array was a ferocious array, so he did not even think about breaking it. Even a talisman master would not be able to break it, let alone him. He could only break it by force. "Kid, you seem to be extraordinary, but you can still go to hell." The old man who had attacked Du Xiaofu immediately attacked Du Xiaofu again. A huge palm print descended like a divine light, causing a large area of space to distort as it slammed down on Du Xiaofu. Boom! Pitch-black spatial cracks appeared around the terrifying palm print. That vast aura collapsed. At this moment, the old man increased the strength of the spatial seal, making it difficult for Du Xiaofu to move. When that terrifying aura descended, Du Xiaofu's primordial spirit felt an absolute sense of danger. At this critical juncture, the palm print had already descended as fast as lightning. Du Xiaofu had no time to think. At this moment he could only hide in the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron. With the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron's mysterious defense, it should be able to protect him. Between exposing the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron and dodging the attack, Du Xiaofu naturally chose the former. Bullying the young with the old. The Great Lun sect is really like a crooked stick. It's all hereditary. Suddenly, at this moment, a loud shout was heard. A figure wrapped in yellow lightning came across the sky. As this figure came, the surrounding lightning fluctuated. Electric arcs wreaked havoc, and the entire world was affected by the lightning. The yellow lightning contained destruction and swept towards the old man in an overwhelming manner. The terrifying destructive lightning blocked the palm print. Boom! Boom! That terrifying palm print was blocked, but the yellow lightning figure was also forced back a few steps at the same time, revealing his true appearance. It was the Hehuan School's area master Ru Kuang. "So you're from the Hehuan School. I really don't know where you got the courage to come to my Great Lun sect." The old man raised his eyes and looked at the area master Ru Kuang with a gloomy expression. The Hehuan School was inferior to the Saman Sword sect and the Sun Moon sect, so he did not take it to heart. "So what if you're from the Great Lun sect?" A graceful figure descended from the sky. It was the area master Ru Meng. "Be careful, Xiaofu." The two area masters looked at each other and said to Du Xiaofu. The two of them rushed towards the old man. The two area masters were wrapped in lightning. The lightning runes were endless, and dark clouds surged out. The surrounding area was covered in lightning, which was destructive and terrifying. The two area masters activated the Universe Dragon Tiger technique and pounced towards the old man from the Great Lun sect. "Little Hehuan School, how dare you!" The old man from the Great Lun sect roared. He activated his divine light and fought against the two area masters. Boom! Boom! This terrifying battle was extraordinary. It destroyed the surrounding area. If anyone was affected, they would immediately suffer. Mad Dragon Ninth Heaven. The area master Ru Kuang roared and activated the Mad Dragon Ninth Heaven. His strength increased sharply, and lightning exploded. The area masters were in sync. The two complemented each other. After activating the Universe Dragon Tiger technique, their power increased greatly. The battle against the old man from the Great Lun sect shocked everyone. The battle between the three of them was getting higher and higher. This was to prevent the area below from being razed to the ground and being affected by the destruction. Boom! The other old man was still attacking the Six Wheels blood-killing array. However, the effect was not great. Instead, he was trapped by the Six Wheels blood-killing array. Although the old man was able to protect himself, he was even more furious at this moment. Their collision caused the surrounding void to rumble like thunder. The two old men were blocked. Du Xiaofu's face was gloomy. He almost hid in the Purple Thunder Profound Cauldron. "Kill!" A cold voice came from Du Xiaofu's mouth. He attacked. The golden wings on his back spread out like a golden light. The golden runes exploded, and it was so dazzling that it was difficult to look at it directly. Bang! 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 The wings flapped and turned into a storm. Wherever Du Xiaofu passed, countless figures in the Sky Alliance's army turned into a bloody mist, forming a bloody path. Du Xiaofu once again ascended the Great Lun sect. Wherever he passed, a bloody path was paved. Kill! Du Xiaofu's attack ignited the battle once again. The battle that had paused just now erupted again. The demonic beast army of the heavenly beast hall, the demonic beast army of the beast region, and the savage beasts of the Tianhuang mainland all roared like thunder. They charged into the enemy army and crushed everything. The ferocious demonic beast army was unstoppable. Yi Piaoling, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Ouyang Shuang, Yi Zijin, the general, Gu Xinyan, and the others were invincible among their peers. They were killing everywhere. Jialo Juiyu, Jialo Kaling, Jialo Juekong, and the others once again challenged opponents above their level. The great golden-winged pringbird's wings were enough to destroy everything. To the disciples of the great golden-winged pingbird clan, they disdained to attack the weak. They would find experts to train themselves and kill their opponents. The experts from all sides charged forward again. The experts of the Great Luin sect were once again surrounded and in danger. However, at this moment, the experts of the Great Luin sect were hopeful. As long as the ancient ancestor won, the outcome would be decided. At that time, the invaders would pay the price in blood. Kill with all your might. However, at this moment, the surrounding experts knew what the experts of the Great Luin sect were thinking. The true victory would be between the Great Luin sect's ancient ancestor and the strongest expert of the Great Golden-Winged Pengbird clan. However, this period of time was their opportunity. Since they could no longer be on good terms with the Great Luin sect, regardless of the outcome, they had to kill as many experts of the Great Luin sect as they could. The battle at this moment had become even more violent. Readers who are interested can add little Yu's WeChat account, YF, and send the words Long Yutian to see the first chapter. Chapter 1497. In the beginning, the experts from Shangzhou did not use their full strength. They only wanted to delay the experts from the Great Luin sect. They wanted to help Du Xiaofu, but there was no need for them to fight to the death with the experts from the Great Luin sect just to help Du Xiaofu. In that kind of life and death situation, if the Great Luin sect's experts wanted to protect themselves, if they were unlucky, they might even be heavily injured. However, the situation had changed beyond their control and they could no longer be on good terms with the Great Luin sect. They could only take advantage of this opportunity to kill as many experts from the Great Luin sect as possible. Even if they could not destroy the Great Luin sect today, they could make the Great Luin sect unable to recover for the next 1,000 years. Bang! A bloody path was paved. Du Xiaofu from the Great Luin sect attacked and killed a Nirvana martial honorable with a punch. Don't kill me! The Great Luin sect and Heavenly Serpent sect's martial honorables who were bound in the space for no reason heard Du Xiaofu's shout. They tried their best to break free but to no avail. Even their meridian souls and Dao artifacts were imprisoned and could not move. Go to hell! Du Xiaofu said coldly. A few fingerprints flew out and pierced through the glabella of a few martial honorables. Their spiritual souls were destroyed and they were killed. However, this was just the beginning. Du Xiaofu was enraged. His figure soared into the sky, and the great Peng golden wings flapped behind him. The great Peng bird soared into the sky, and he specifically targeted the martial saints and martial domain realm cultivators of the Central Province's Heavenly Alliance. A few martial honorables from the small forces who followed the Great Luin sect were besieged by the experts from the various forces in Shangzhou. However, they were still fighting back. Bang bang bang! However, Du Xiaofu forcefully intervened. As he flapped his wings, the bodies of martial honorables exploded and turned into blood mist. All the Qianquan bags were taken away by Du Xiaofu. Bang bang! Du Xiaofu punched a long-haired old man who was in the initial stage of the martial domain realm from an unknown first-rate force of the Great Luin sect. Blood spurted out and the old man could not even withstand a single blow. Buzz! Du Xiaofu unsheathed his sword. Radiance shone brightly as the purple-gold heavenly fault erupted with the roars of dragons, tigers, phoenixes, and turtles. Chi-la! The sword slashed out, and wherever the sword light passed, a pitch-black abyss appeared in the mountains below. The two martial domain realm cultivators had their heads chopped off with a single slash. That Du Xiaofu is too scary. Du Xiaofu's killing intent soared to the sky. It had only been a short while, but he had already killed a large number of martial honorables. He had even killed a few domain realm cultivators. Kill! Du Xiaofu attacked again, his killing intent surging. At this moment he no longer had any scruples. He charged into the heavenly snake sex formation and swung his sword. A half-domain expert was directly cut in half. Bang! Du Xiaofu kicked the air, and a Nirvana-revered martial artist was directly kicked away. His body collided with an 8-star spirit talisman master of the Spirit Sky Valley not far away. Both of them spat out blood at the same time, and in the end, they were killed by the experts of the Shang province. Bastard! A martial domain realm elder of the Heavenly Snake sect had blood dripping from his mouth. He condensed a huge python vein soul and charged directly at Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu slightly flapped his wings, and the vein soul shattered inch by inch. Kill! Du Xiaofu said coldly. His figure appeared in front of the elder like a ghost, and he exploded with a punch. Blood splattered all over the ground, and even his primordial spirit was smashed into pieces. Such a brutal massacre caused many experts of the Shang province, Ancient Heaven sect, and Profound Talisman sect to inwardly suck in a breath of cold air. After Du Xiaofu killed more than 20 martial honorables of the Heavenly Snake sect and 3 martial domain realm cultivators, he flapped his wings and arrived at the Spirit Sky Valley's formation. Chi-la-la! Du Xiaofu swung his sword 3 times. The sword light swept through the sky, cutting through the void, and a large number of Spirit Sky Valley martial honorables were killed. In the end, the Spirit Sky Valley Talisman Masters saw that the situation was not good and immediately fled. Die for me! Du Xiaofu shouted with a domineering tone. His voice was like a thunderclap. Bang bang bang! The 8-star Talisman Masters of the Spirit Sky Valley had just rushed out, and before they could react, they were killed by Du Xiaofu's shout. The 8-star Talisman Masters all died with blood flowing out of their 7 orifices, causing the surrounding people to tremble. Du Xiaofu's gaze once again fixed on a person. It was a majestic old man who had just reached the peak of the martial domain realm. He was the Spirit Sky Valley's Overlord Marshal. Not good run. Overlord Marshal was already sullen from being surrounded by experts from all sides and was injured. At this moment, he felt that the terrifying Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was staring at him. He did not hesitate at all and paid the price with all his strength. He used a terrifying technique to tear open space and wanted to escape. At this moment, to Overlord Marshal, even if he was to return to the Spirit Sky Valley and be punished for deserting, he still wanted to save his old life. At this moment, Overlord Marshal more or less understood. The consecrator of the Spirit Sky Valley had personally intercepted Du Xiaofu, but there was no news. Only when he saw the experts of the golden-winged great rocks that came for Du Xiaofu did Overlord Marshal understand that the consecrator was doomed. Overlord Marshal completely understood. No wonder Du Xiaofu was able to escape unscathed after wreaking havoc in the immeasurable sect. It was because he had the experts of the golden-winged great rocks by his side. If the consecrator knew that the experts of the golden-winged great rocks were by Du Xiaofu's side, he would not dare to intercept Du Xiaofu even if he was beaten to death. Du Xiaofu appeared behind Overlord Marshal like a ghost. With Du Xiaofu's current speed, how could Overlord Marshal compare to him? Du Xiaofu waved his hand. It was simple and direct without any fanciful movements. The sword ray was like a purple-gold lightning that pierced through the void. Overlord Marshal's wish didn't come true. Just as he stepped into the spatial crack and was about to escape, Du Xiaofu's sword slashed down from the back, splitting his majestic body into 2. Du Xiaofu, I won't let you off. Overlord Marshal wailed. That was his Yuan spirit. Although he didn't manage to escape and was split into 2 by Du Xiaofu's sword, his Yuan spirit still managed to escape into the spatial crack in an instant. Du Xiaofu knitted his brows. He wanted to kill Overlord Marshal, but it was already half a step too late. He could only give up. That Demon King Du Xiaofu is too frightening. The immeasurable sect, Intelligent Sword sect, and other major forces that were watching the battle from afar were thoroughly shocked. That Demon King Du Xiaofu had killed mercilessly. No one was his match. That demon king Du Xiaofu was so young, but he was able to kill martial domain realm cultivators as if they were nothing. Furthermore, he was so cruel and merciless. How frightening was that? Inside and outside the Great Wheel sect, mournful screams could be heard everywhere. Corpses were strewn all over the place. It was like hell. Even the experts of the various major forces sucked in a breath of cold air at this moment. They were terrified by this bloodbath. It had been thousands of years since such a great battle had taken place in the entire central region. And the moment that Demon King Du Xiaofu returned, it caused such a bloody battle. Seeing this terrifying scene, the assistance of the Shang region, the reinforcements of the divine elites, and the descent of the heavenly beasts, the experts of the immeasurable sect, intelligent sword sect, and Shindu Gate couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Compared to the Demon King Du Xiaofu causing havoc in their sects, the Great Will sect was in a truly miserable state. At this moment, the experts of the three sects felt much less sullen and resentful of Du Xiaofu causing havoc in their sections. His hair was disheveled and he still gave off an extraordinary feeling. A great pressure spread out from his body. Feeling Du Xiaofu's gaze, Dongli Qihuang also looked at Du Xiaofu. The Rainbow Divine Soul's gorgeous eyes suddenly surged with a dense chill. Jialo Juekong and Du Xiaoqing, who were repelled, originally wanted to continue their attack. However, when they saw Du Xiaofu staring at Dongli Qihuang, the two retreated and immediately pounced on the other experts of the Great Luan sect and Sky Snake sect. "You finally dare to make a move." Dongli Qihuang spoke. His voice was gloomy and cold. His eyes looked straight at Du Xiaofu. There was hatred, anger, and jealousy in his eyes. His gaze was cold and complicated. Chapter 1498. Look, Dongli Qihuang is going to meet the Demon King Du Xiaofu. Are they really going to fight? The surrounding people noticed that the Demon King Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qihuang were going to fight. They could not help but exclaim. Immediately, numerous gazes looked towards Du Xiaofu and Dongli Qihuang. The purple-robed youth with the golden wings on his back spread out like divine wings and golden light shrouded him. He had an extremely majestic aura, ferocious and domineering aura. Although Dongli Qihuang appeared to be in a sorry state, having been beaten twice at the beginning, no one would look down on him. The two extraordinary youths faced each other from a distance, causing the surrounding people to look solemn. Everyone present knew that in this bloody battle, even the appearance of the golden-winged great rocks and the revival of the oldest ancestor of the Great Will sect could be said to be the cause and origin of all of this because of the two young men. Will they have a fierce battle? Some people were surprised, their gazes solemn and curious. Dongli Qihuang had reached the nirvana stage. Originally, more than half of the people thought that Dongli Qihuang would win. However, after Dongli Qihuang was beaten up and Du Xiaofu was so ferocious and terrifying that he could kill a martial domain realm cultivator like an ant, the surrounding people had no choice but to reevaluate the situation. "You are not qualified to fight with me. I will only kill you." Du Xiaofu looked at Dongli Qihuang and spoke. He did not hide the killing intent in his eyes. At the beginning, Du Xiaofu did not make a move on the Great Will sect. He did not kill Dongli Qihuang immediately when he provoked him. That was because Du Xiaofu knew that there were experts in the Great Will sect spying on them. No matter how well they hid their auras, they could not escape Du Xiaofu's sharp Yuan spirit. Not to mention that once they really wanted to kill Dongli Qihuang, the experts in the Great Will sect would definitely interfere. They would not allow a nirvana stage cultivator to be killed so easily. Du Xiaofu also knew that even if he could kill the Eastern mythical Scarlet Phoenix with absolute speed, it would immediately trigger a war between the Heaven Alliance of the Central Plains, the Desolate Country, the Ancient Heaven sect, and the Profound Talisman sect. At that time, Gui Che and the other ferocious beasts realm cultivators had not arrived yet. The reinforcements from Shangzhou had not yet arrived, and the reinforcements from Tianhuang continent had not yet arrived. At that time, if a bloody battle suddenly broke out, even with 4th Elder Jialo Yi and 5th Elder Jialo Yuan hiding in the shadows, the Desolate Country and the other armies would not be able to gain any advantage. Reality was just as Du Xiaofu had expected. However, The time had come. Du Xiaofu did not intend to endure any longer. Everything was orchestrated by Dongli Qihuang. He was the main culprit and had to be killed. Killed? Do you have the strength to do so? Dongli Qihuang looked at Du Xiaofu. His eyes twitched and he sneered. His clothes and hair fluttered. Divine light rippled from his body. Dongli Qihuang had personally witnessed Du Xiaofu's savagery and strength. He had already been beaten twice. However, when he faced Du Xiaofu, he still seemed to have something to rely on. He was not afraid at all. Dongli Qihuang might not be able to defeat Demon King Du Xiaofu, right? Even that terrifying youth from the golden-winged Great Ping race had to bow before Du Xiaofu. It seems like the Demon King Du Xiaofu has a close relationship with the golden-winged Great Ping race. He must have also obtained a great opportunity. Among the spectators in the surroundings, a young man spoke. The Eastern mythical Scarlet Phoenix who had undergone nirvanic rebirth might not be able to do anything to Du Xiaofu at this moment. There was also an old man who frowned and said, "What do you know? Dongli Qihuang has lived 2 lives. Before he reincarnated, he was said to be one of the ancient ancestors of the Great Luan sect. How powerful was he? Now that he has undergone nirvana, he should have received the blessing of the heavens. More of his primordial spirit from his previous life has awakened. He must have some great methods. Although he was beaten up by the golden-winged Great Ping race youth and the red-bone horse monkey, the fact that he is still alive is proof. How can he be easy to deal with? Once they fight to the death, the result will be hard to determine." Hearing this, the spectators nodded their heads in understanding. That Dongli Qihuang was actually one of the ancient ancestors of the Great Luan sect in his previous life. He did indeed have a great foundation. In this life, Dongli Qihuang had undergone nirvana. If he were to truly fight against the Demon King Du Xiaofu, he might still have some shocking methods hidden. He would not be easy to deal with. However, no one would look down on the Demon King Du Xiaofu at this moment. Such a ferocious youth was naturally not easy to deal with. At this moment, the Demon King Du Xiaofu also seemed to have a great relationship with the golden-winged Great Ping race. He had attracted the attention of the Kyushu. How tyrannical was this? A few old men intentionally spied on the Demon King Du Xiaofu. They were even more alarmed and felt that he was unfathomable. Their primordial spirits secretly trembled with fear. It was as if he was a true supreme. No blasphemy could be tolerated. Secretly spying on him was a type of blasphemy. Kill! Du Xiaofu's killing intent gushed out. He no longer spoke and flapped his golden ping wings behind him. In a flash, he tore through the space. The golden light was as resplendent as the sun. The violet golden imperial palace in his hand was the most resounding. There were also the cries of ghosts, the cries of gods, the cries of dragons, tigers, phoenixes, and turtles. Dongli Qihuang also made his move. He secretly glanced at the supreme beauty in the distance. At this moment, her gaze was also in this direction. Her expression became even more gloomy. Boom! A bone-chilling intent slowly emerged from the depths of Dongli Qihuang's eyes. The dazzling light around his body spread out like a holy light. A cold arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. The aura in his body suddenly surged as if it was about to cause the void to tremble with the sound of wind and thunder. Do you really think that you can kill me by relying on the jade race of the golden-winged peng? That is a golden-winged peng. What are you? I'll kill you. Dongli Qihuang also made his move. A cold gaze suddenly shot out from his soul-like eyes. The light on his body was as bright as the sun. These two were publicly recognized as the peak experts of the younger generation in the central continent. At this moment, they were about to make their move and directly attacked. Whoosh! Suddenly, at this moment, from the distant horizon, there was a dazzling ray of light that suddenly flew towards the Great Wheel sect. In a flash, a dazzling azure light that resembled a green sun suddenly spread out in the sky above the Great Wheel sect. It was an energy arrow. The azure light contained a terrifying aura that spread out. It was as if an ancient fiend god had awakened from a deep slumber. A mysterious power descended and finally exploded in the sky like the most dazzling fireworks in the world. Bang! The light was dazzling and the sky was covered by a dark green color. A terrifying fiend god aura made the hearts of countless experts tremble. The energy light arrow had clearly been released in midair, but many domain realm experts felt as if the arrow had pierced through space and pierced their minds and hearts. Fear surged out of them subconsciously and they retreated. "Stop!" A clear and moving voice rang out. It was clear and delicate, but it contained a great pressure. The words were like a heavenly flute, melodious and pleasing to the ears. However, the sound that spread out made the bloody battlefield clear to the ears. It was not covered by the roars of beasts and the muffled sounds of energy. Those who heard it trembled violently and some people could not help but stop. Du Xiaofu, who was already on the verge of making a move, felt the energy light arrow. He forcefully withdrew his attack like an arrow on a fully drawn bow. Immediately, he gazed into the distance. This was because Du Xiaofu felt a familiar aura from the energy arrow. Du Xiaofu also did not forget the sound that spread out. At this moment, Dongli Qihuang also looked into the sky and looked in the direction of the energy arrow and the sound. Amidst the dazzling light, a graceful figure flew across the sky. Her aura caused the easternly scarlet phoenix's heart to tremble. That aura made Dongli Qihuang somewhat hesitant and surprised. Soon after, his heart violently jumped and his expression gradually changed. Both inside and outside the Great Luan sect, the experts secretly raised their heads. The experts who were in the midst of an intense battle also secretly looked over with their minds. A beautiful figure gradually appeared in the distant sky. Her green clothes outlined a beautiful arc that caused one to feel suffocated. She had an exquisite and beautiful face. Her fine black hair was originally tied into a simple jade green bun at the back of her head. The black hair at the side of the bun swayed slightly. She arrived slowly, yet she traversed space. She drifted like a god, and she moved freely like a graceful swan. Such a woman instantly appeared in the sky above the Great Luan sect. Her eyebrows were like jade feathers and her skin was as white as snow. She was elegant and refined, just like a fairy. Her beautiful jade-like eyes were like water. She frowned slightly as she looked at the corpses that were strewn all over the place and the blood that flowed like a river. Her brows furrowed slightly. She looked amiable, but there was also a faint, unapproachable aura. "It's her." Du Xiaoyao stood in the air and stared blankly at the woman. Soon after, she revealed a smile. "Brother Xiaoyao, do you know her? Who is she?" Du Shui from the Du family was not far away. She could feel the aura of the fairy-like woman, which made her inexplicably tremble. She immediately asked Du Xiaofu. "She could be your sister-in-law," Du Xiaoyao said in a serious tone. Chapter 1499. Its sister Qingqing. Many people from Scarlet Rock and Blue Fantasy recognized Dongli Qingqing, but no one went up to greet her. Even Du Xiaoyao and Scarlet Rock didn't go up to greet her. This was because everyone could feel that Dongli Qingqing's aura had become even more noble than before. That was a graceful woman. Her body was tall and straight, exceptional and independent. She quietly stood in the air, giving off a supreme feeling of vitality, transcending this world. Du Xiaofu's heart skipped a beat when he saw that beautiful figure. There couldn't be two people who looked so similar in this world, so he couldn't be wrong. Besides, he couldn't be wrong about that familiar voice and aura. Back then, she left without saying goodbye in Tianhuang mainland. Was it a coincidence or was she here on purpose? However, looking at Dongli Qingqing's expression, Du Xiaofu felt that she wasn't here for him. She seemed to have come to the Great Luan sect for something. In midair, Su Muxin also saw the fairy-like woman. Her beautiful eyes were filled with hope, and she was enchanting. She was inwardly stirred, but she soon restrained her expression and remained calm. That fairy-like woman was Dongli Qingqing. She also saw Du Xiaofu and then Ouyang Shuang and Yi Zijin, who weren't far from Du Xiaofu. When she saw that beautiful woman beside Du Xiaofu, Dongli Qingqing was stunned for a moment, but she soon returned to normal. The joy in her eyes was replaced by a slight trance. Who is she? What a beautiful woman. Her aura is very strange. Everyone looked at each other. That beautiful woman gave off an extremely special feeling. At this moment, she was standing alone on the Great Wheel sect. Rivers of blood flowed around her, and corpses were strewn all over the place. However, the aura on her body gave off a feeling of exuberance. It was able to dilute the murderous aura around her, allowing people to bathe in the spring breeze. Due to Dongli Qingqing's influence, many people within the area of 10,000 miles of bloodbath had come to a standstill. The battle situation had also been affected. However, even more soldiers and beasts were still killing. Blood splattered everywhere and bright runes were shattered. The killing was so intense that it made everyone tremble in fear. It was as if they had fallen into hell. Dongli Qingqing looked around. Her red lips parted slightly, revealing her pearly white teeth. She said in a clear voice, "Great Luan sect, stop. Xiaofu, you too." Dongli Qingqing looked at Du Xiaofu. She seemed to have sensed that this matter was definitely related to Du Xiaofu. "I can promise you anything but this. This is a debt that the Great Luan sect owes to the desolate country's world society. I want it back." Du Xiaofu shook his head. There was no room for discussion. He could not think of any other reason to reject her request. Hearing Du Xiaofu talking to the mysterious woman, everyone was surprised. It seemed that the mysterious woman was closely related to the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. However, she also seemed to be related to the Great Luan sect. Dongli Qingqing looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "If the Great Luan sect owes you anything, I promise to give you an explanation. But please stop now. Rivers of blood and corpses. Is this what you want?" Du Xiaofu raised his head and asked, "You represent the Great Luan sect?" "That's right. No matter what the Great Luan sect owes you, I will give you an explanation," Dongli Qingqing said seriously. Du Xiaofu was very surprised, but after a moment of hesitation he waved his hand and shook his sleeve. His voice spread across the battlefield. "Stop for now. I also ask the two elders and seniors Ru Meng and Kuang Ru to stop for now." Roar! The demonic beasts roared and the army stopped. Following Du Xiaofu's words, the desolate country's army, the demonic beasts' army, Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Gui Che, and the Phantom Tiger King all stopped attacking. The armies of the Ancient Heaven sect, Profound Talisman sect, and Profound Underworld sect also retreated. However, their auras were still fierce and murderous. Their eyes were bloodshot. The fourth elder and the fifth elder were fighting against the Great Luan sect's Dao Void Domain Master and Ming Void Domain Master. The two Domain Masters, Rumeng and Kuang, also retreated with the elder who was fighting with them. Jialo Yi, Rumeng and Kuang landed not far behind Du Xiaofu. They looked at Dongli Qingqing, who was in the air in front of them. They seemed to have sensed something and were surprised. Only Gui Mei and the Bloodvine Spirit were still on the battlefield. They continued to devour the monstrous murderous aura on the battlefield. However, the sacred array child Jin Qingchun was still fighting against the Great Luan sect's ancestor with the 6 wheels blood-killing array. It was not easy for the Great Luan sect's expert to break the array. The sacred array child Jin Qingchun could not completely suppress the Great Luan sect's expert with the 6 wheels blood-killing array. They were still in a stalemate and no one from either side stepped in to help. At this moment, the Middle State Sky Alliance's army was being slaughtered. Although they were defending with all their might, there were still people who died trying to protect themselves. If they wanted to die, they would have to drag a few people down with them. However, when they saw the desolate country's army and the demonic beast army retreating, the Middle State Sky Alliance's army naturally would not be entangled with anyone. They immediately retreated. They immediately consumed elixirs to recover and took the opportunity to catch their breath. They were terrified as they faced the terrifying army. More than half of the Middle State Sky Alliance's army, which was close to 100 million, had been defeated. They were badly injured and dripping with blood. "Everyone from the Great Luan sect, retreat," Dongli Qingqing said in a clear voice. Hearing this, the surrounding people were even more surprised. The mysterious lady could actually make Du Xiaofu retreat temporarily and even give orders to the Great Luan sect. "Who are you? How dare you give orders to the Great Luan sect?" Within the Great Wheel sect, the old man who was originally fighting with the two territorial lords asked, "Has the Great Luan sect forgotten your identity after all these years? Retreat quickly." Dongli Qingqing said. She was otherworldly and incomparably beautiful. However, There was a great majesty on her beautiful face at this moment. Hearing her majestic tone, the Great Luen Sect's army was surprised. The Great Luen Sect's experts were even shocked. However, after that, there were experts who were unhappy. The young lady seemed to be related to Du Xiaofu. At this moment, she was giving orders to the Great Luen Sect. This caused the Great Luen Sect's experts to feel a chill. No one had ever dared to give orders to the Great Luen Sect. The Sky Snake Sect and Spirit Sky Valley's experts were also looking at Dongli Qingqing. They were knowledgeable and had sharp eyes. They had also seen all the young experts in Kyushu. However, at this moment, they felt that the beautiful young lady gave them an unfathomable feeling. Her temperament was very special and her aura was very powerful. They were all surprised. "Little girl, you dare to give orders to my Great Luen Sect? You're not strong enough." A middle-aged expert from the Great Luen Sect shouted. Today, the Great Luen Sect had suffered again and again. At this moment, a young lady had appeared and was actually so arrogant. She didn't even put the Great Luen Sect in her eyes. When he was fighting with his opponents earlier, he was also beaten up. At this moment, the resentment in his heart was naturally strong and he vented it all on Dongli Qingqing. Dongli Qingqing stood in the air and looked straight at the middle-aged expert from the Great Luen Sect. She said, "Just based on this." As her voice fell, a token appeared in Dongli Qingqing's palm. It was very unique and it was emitting a bright green light. There was a special emblem on it that was similar to the Great Luen Sect's emblem. It was ancient and looked like an item from the ancient era. Looking at the token, the Great Luen Sect's experts looked at each other. Not many of them were moved, but they were surprised. Only Dongli Qiwang's gaze was fixed on the token in Dongli Qingqing's hand. "Little girl, you're courting death. How dare you be so arrogant in my Great Luen Sect?" The middle-aged expert shouted coldly with a gloomy expression. He didn't put the token in his eyes at all and completely ignored it. "Insolent servant, are you rebelling?" Dongli Qingqing's expression was cold and her voice was clear and sharp. Her eyes began to shine with a bright green light. The expressions of the surrounding experts changed. Chapter 1500. Dongli Qingqing waved her hand, and a jade-green fingerprint flew out and landed between the middle-aged man's eyebrows. "Chi La." The middle-aged man had a defense, but in the face of the sparkling finger, his defense was completely useless. The fingerprint flew into his eyebrows and devoured his life force, destroying everything. In an instant, the middle-aged man's hair turned white and his skin withered. It was as if his blood was sucked dry and his life force was devoured. Then, his body began to shrivel and shrivel. Finally, he fell from the sky and turned into a withered corpse on the ground. Everything happened too quickly, so quickly that the Great Luen Sect ancestors could not stop it in time. At this moment, many of the experts in the surroundings were shocked. Many experts were well aware of the middle-aged man's cultivation and strength, but he had been killed so easily by the beautiful woman. That young woman was actually so valiant, so terrifying. In just one day, several terrifying young people had appeared in the Great Luen Sect. It was already frightening enough. She has become much stronger. It seems to be the same path, but it's a little different. Du Xiaofu had been paying attention and was a little surprised to see Dongli Qingqing's current cultivation and strength. However, Du Xiaofu did not find it too strange. He knew Dongli Qingqing's talent better than anyone. "Young man, who are you? You have to pay the price for killing my Great Luen Sect's people. Tell me, who are your seniors?" In the Great Luen Sect, the Ming Su Domain Master, who had been fighting with Elder Jialo Yi, asked. He was the strongest Great Luen Sect's Great Luen Sect ancestors aside from the ancient ancestor. At this moment, the Ming Su Domain Master's eyes flickered. The Great Luen Sect had enough trouble today. Such a young woman must have an extraordinary background. Therefore, Ming Su did not want to provoke any more strong enemies. Otherwise, he would not have such a temper and would have attacked long ago. "How dare you be impudent as a servant? Your cultivation is not bad. Don't make me cripple you." Dongli Qingqing berated. Her voice was clear and cold, as if she was a noble spirit of this world, not allowing anyone to offend her. Ming Su's expression changed. He was the ancestor of the Great Luin sect and had a powerful cultivation. In front of all the major forces in Kyushu, that little girl did not even put him in her eyes. Not only did this put him on the spot, it also made him angry. Do you want to attack me? Do you think your cultivation is strong enough? Do you think the Great Will sect is yours? Did no one tell you that you're just a servant? Being disrespectful to His Majesty is a serious crime that deserves death. Dongli Qingqing spoke in a domineering manner. Her beautiful eyes flickered with an indescribable tyrannical aura. Du Xiaofu's eyes moved. He felt the change in Dongli Qingqing. Compared to before, there was an additional fierceness and dominance. She is so domineering. Yi Zijin spoke as she looked at the beautiful girl who was about the same age as her. Her domineering aura caused Yi Zijin's heart to be filled with fear and envy. Ming Su was completely enraged. Light flashed in his eyes as if he was about to attack at any moment. He was one of the ancestors of the Great Luin sect. Once he walked out, the entire Kyushu would change color. He could make the entire Kyushu tremble with a stomp of his feet. He had lived for a long time. However, Ming Su did not expect that a little girl would look down on him and even treat him as a servant. Little girl, I don't care where you come from or who is behind you. Today I will suppress you. Ming Su finally attacked. He could not bear it any longer. If he did not attack this little girl today, how could he have the face to stand in Kyushu in the future? Boom! As Ming Su spoke, he raised his hand and the mysterious runes on the talisman condensed into a ray of divine light that pierced through the space. Swish! The ray of light was like a rainbow, carrying a boundless mist. It was so powerful that it suppressed the heavens and the earth. Even a sealed region cultivator would not be able to resist it. This kind of aura might even surpass that of a large region. The terrifying ray of energy pierced through the space and swept towards Dongli Qingqing with unparalleled power. That terrifying aura caused Du Xiaofu to be on tenterhooks for Dongli Qingqing. He felt powerless even if he wanted to help. However, Du Xiaofu guessed that Dongli Qingqing had come in such a powerful manner because she had something to rely on. Swish! At that moment, a figure silently appeared in front of Dongli Qingqing. He quickly waved his hand and light rippled from his body. Swish! At this moment, the energy pillar that had rushed over with lightning-like speed directly froze in front of that figure. It was as though the surrounding space had been sealed and solidified. After which, that frightening energy pillar actually automatically disappeared. A servant dares to be impudent to his master. Looks like the Great Luin sect doesn't know their place. As a cold voice sounded out, the figure raised his hand and slapped. Boom! When the slap appeared, the entire Great Luin sect trembled. It was as if something had melted into the space. Then a dazzling light was released. In a split second, a palm print appeared on Ming Su's face. Pa! The crisp sound of the slap was like thunder. Under the dazed gazes of the crowd, Ming Su spat out a mouthful of blood and an old tooth. His body flew backwards and landed on the messy ground. Ming Su, the ancestor of the Great Luin sect. Although he was at a disadvantage in the fight with the elite from the Great Golden Winged Rock clan, he was still a terrifying figure who could fight with the elite from the Great Golden Winged Rock clan head-on. However, at that moment, the ancestor of the Great Luin sect, Ming Su, had been slapped down by someone. When the scene unfolded before their eyes, everyone was dumbfounded. They trembled and found it difficult to breathe. It was too unbelievable. At that moment, even 4th Elder Jialo Yi and 5th Elder Jialo Yuantu raised their eyebrows. The strength of the old woman had attracted their attention. Numerous gazes immediately landed on the figure who had made the move as though they had been electrocuted. Under the gazes of the crowd, the figure that had appeared beside Dongli Qingqing was a staggering old woman. She was very old, but her eyes were so deep that no one dared to look at her directly. It's her! Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows. He naturally knew the old woman. She was Dongli Qingqing's master. They had first met in the Savage Beast Mountain range and had interacted with each other after that. However, Du Xiaofu had never expected that the old woman's strength would be so terrifying. The experts of the Great Luin sect were as silent as cicadas in winter as they looked at the old woman. The ancestor had been slapped down by a single slap. How terrifying was that old woman? The Eastern mythical scarlet phoenix stared at the sky. Her beautiful eyes were twitching violently at this moment. Ming Su flew out from the ruins. He was in an extremely sorry state. The corner of his mouth was stained with blood and there was a bright red palm print on his face. Ming Su's entire face was swollen. At his level of cultivation, his physical body was extremely tough. But now, his face was swollen from a single slap. He spat out blood and his old teeth fell out. This proved that the slap was definitely not a simple one. After the old woman made her move, she ignored Ming Su on the ground and the many experts from the Great Luan sect. Instead, she looked towards the sky and spoke in an indifferent voice. The only way to deal with the other party is to fight to the death. You have already finished fighting. Why are you still not showing yourself? The battle has already ended. The battle below seems to be almost over as well. The voice of the third elder of the golden-winged great pengbird clan came from the sea of clouds. Golden light poured down and covered the sky. His domineering aura caused the demonic beasts inside and outside the Great Luan sect to tremble and the experts to go weak. His figure then appeared in the sky. Has their battle ended? Someone asked. He wanted to know the result. He didn't know who had won between the strongest expert of the Great Luan sect and the expert of the golden-winged Great Pengbird clan. Du Xiaofu looked at the third elder. The third elder transmitted a message to his ear. The expert of the Great Luan sect is not weak. He can fight with me and has many tricks and treasures. However, if I go all out, even if I can't kill him, I can at least make him pay a huge price. The strongest is the old woman in front of us. I have already sensed her aura, so I didn't fight with the expert of the Great Luan sect to prevent others from taking advantage of us. Act according to the situation. With us here, you don't have to worry about anything. Walala. As the third elder's voice fell in Du Xiaofu's ears, the golden light disappeared. Then, divine light fluctuated in the sky and the huge figure of the Great Luan sect's ancient ancestor appeared. That enormous figure brought with it a terrifying pressure that could crush the heavens. However, that pressure was slowly being restrained, and in the end, it turned into an extremely old man. The old man looked old, but he had white hair and a youthful face. When he opened and closed his eyes, divine light flickered like the sun. He was very powerful. At this moment, the old woman, the third elder of the golden-winged Great Pengbird clan and the ancient ancestor of the Great Luan sect were floating in the sky. The atmosphere around them froze and made people feel weak. The ancient ancestor of the Great Luan sect appeared. When he saw Ming Su, who had been slapped down by the old woman, his expression changed. He looked at the old woman and Dongli Qingqing. He seemed to have felt something and his expression changed again. However, he didn't show it on his face. He asked the old woman, "Who are you? You came to my Great Luan sect and hurt my disciple. Are you going overboard? Do you think you didn't hear what I just said? Is the Great Luan sect going to rebel?" Dongli Qingqing walked out and stared at the ancestor of the Great Luan sect. Even in the face of such a strong cultivator, her eyes were still sharp and aggressive. She didn't fear him at all, as if she was an emperor facing her servants. The old man's eyes twitched. He was the 100-wheel ancestor of the Great Luan sect. Naturally, he knew what had happened below. There were some things that no more than 3 people in the Great Luan sect knew about, and he was one of them. In fact, he had only heard about those things like legends and had never come into contact with them. Chapter 1501. Could it be that you are? 100 Wheels' old ancestor looked at Dongli Qingqing. That aura made him tremble. The Xian Qi in his body was also affected, as though he had met a king. According to the news that 100 Wheels' old ancestor heard, that clan had long been exterminated from this world. Why would someone appear at this moment? This made him very shocked and surprised. Do you think that my clan no longer exists? Even if my clan no longer exists, Great Will sect will forever be my clan's servant. Dongli Qingqing took out the token again. It was filled with an ancient aura. 100 Wheels' old ancestor was the most ancient ancestor of Great Will sect. He naturally knew the origins of that token. But for so many years, Great Wheel Sect had never received any restrictions. Now that that clan suddenly appeared, 100 Wheels' old ancestor's heart suddenly became complicated. At his level, who would want to be restricted and become a servant? A token doesn't mean anything. I have heard of the existence of that clan. But just based on a token that doesn't mean anything, I'm afraid it can't prove your identity? The 100 Wheel old ancestor spoke. He had heard of the legends of that clan before. It was a terrifying clan. Although it no longer existed, the Great Wheel Sect was a servant of that clan. Their prestige was still there, and they were still intimidating. He was completely unsure of the depths of that clan. So 100 Wheels' old ancestor didn't dare to express anything too clearly. But if someone wanted him to be a servant, he definitely wouldn't be willing. My identity doesn't need to be proven. You are trying to rebel. Dongli Qingqing said. She had a majestic aura. She stood in the air. Just one side of the story and a token that doesn't lose face. Naturally, I have to be suspicious. If anyone comes with a token and says that they are the descendant of that clan, should this old man believe it? 100 Wheels' old ancestor asked. His eyes opened and closed, shining with divine light. The token represents the dignity of my clan. You don't follow the token, which means you don't respect your original master. I have the right to punish you. Dongli Qingqing scolded. Her expression was cold. That clan has existed for a very long time. In fact, I've only heard of it. Speaking of which, even if you're real, I'm afraid we're not related to each other. 100 Wheel ancestor spoke. His meaning was clear. It had been a long time. Even if Great Wheel Sect was a servant of that clan, it had been a long time. He had only heard of the existence of that clan. Speaking of it, he had no relationship with that clan, so he was naturally no longer a servant. The technique you're cultivating and the Upanishads you've learned are all from our tribe. You're our servant. If you want to leave, I won't force you to stay. Destroy your cultivation and you can leave. Dongli Qingqing was currently facing 100 Wheel old ancestor. Her hair danced in the wind, and her eyes revealed a cold smile. Her lithe and graceful body was suffused with a green luster, making her look like a fairy in a dream. You're messing with me. 100 Wheel old ancestor's face darkened. As the Great Wheel Sect's ancient ancestor, he had cultivated for thousands of years. At this moment, he was being ignored and even suppressed by a junior. Naturally, he had to endure it. Enough. The old woman spoke. She looked at 100 Wheel old ancestor coldly and said, "Don't you want to prove yourself? I'll give you a chance to attack." Looking at the old woman's gaze, 100 Wheel old ancestor didn't know why, but his heart trembled. At his level, if those old guys in the entire 9 regions were still in a deep sleep to maintain their vitality and were still alive in the end, there would be someone who could contend with him. But even so, 100 Wheel old ancestor didn't need to fear anyone in Kyushu. But at this moment, facing the light in the old woman's eyes, 100 Wheel old ancestor's heart trembled. At this moment he shouldn't have such a state of mind. 100 Wheel old ancestor immediately calmed himself down. His eyes flickered, but then a divine light gushed out. He looked at the old woman and nodded, "All right. Enough nonsense. I'll let you attack first. If I attack, you won't even have a chance to fight back." The old woman's gaze was cold as she coldly glanced at 100 Wheel old ancestor. Who is that old woman? She doesn't even put the Great Luen Sect's ancient ancestor in her eyes. The surrounding experts were all frightened. In Kyushu, who dared to not look down on the Great Luen Sect's ancient ancestor? But the old woman didn't just look down on 100 Wheel old ancestor, she also looked down on him. 100 Wheel old ancestor's expression became ugly. Without hesitation, his chi surged and his body rose up. Divine light shone brightly and the surrounding space froze. There was the sound of wind and thunder, as if it came from ancient times. It had a desolate and ancient aura, but also a kind of vitality. At this moment, a terrifying pressure descended and enveloped the area, causing the earth to tremble. Inside and outside the Great Luen Sect, everyone was trembling. Many people couldn't help but tremble. Ancient ancestor, show off our sect's might. Some of the Great Luen Sect's disciples seemed to be attracted by something and knelt down in worship. Take this 100-wheel divine seal. The 100-wheel-old ancestor made his move. His entire body glowed, and in an instant his body turned into a giant. Strands of divine light accompanied by waves of vitality gushed out from the heavens and earth. His might shook the heavens and earth. The giant body waved his hand, and in the end, a resplendent handprint reached out from the depths of the firmament. This resplendent handprint was like the wrath of a god. It wanted to destroy everything in the world with a single palm strike, to destroy all life in the world. At this moment, the surrounding space froze. But inside and outside the Great Luen sect, the earth and mountains were still shaking and the abyss was shifting. Wind and thunder rumbled, lightning flashed and thunder roared. That handprint of the god seemed to contain all spirits. It suppressed the world, causing the earth and the firmament to tremble. Around the handprint, there were obvious pitch-black cracks in the space. They spread across the sky like a spider web, as if the entire sky had been shattered. This scene was too terrifying. Oh my God, how terrifying! The surrounding experts were trembling in fear. Under the terrifying handprint, a huge pressure suddenly filled the air inside and outside the Great Luen sect. The terrifying pressure swept out in all directions, shaking tens of thousands of miles. It was as if the entire central region was shaking. Such terrifying power. What level has it reached? Some of the elders felt a chill run down their spines. Under that terrifying pressure, they were unable to withstand it. Inside and outside the Great Luen sect, everyone's chest heaved up and down violently. They gasped. Even the primordial spirit beast souls were filled with fear. The space was still frozen. If not for the frozen space, 100-wheel-old ancestor did not want to destroy the entire Great Luen sect. Under this handprint, all the living things inside and outside the Great Luen sect would have been destroyed. Terrifying. Too terrifying. Du Xiaofu was shocked. Such terrifying power was not to be underestimated. The Great Luen sect was able to stand tall in Central Region and not fall because they had something to rely on. But at this moment, the old woman did not have any reaction. Looking at the incoming handprint, she stretched out her hand slightly. Mysterious runes shot out from her palm and turned into a strange whirlpool. Buzz buzz. Around the whirlpool, a strange phenomenon appeared. It rippled and swallowed everything. The void whirlpool didn't seem big, but what happened next was shocking. The void whirlpool swallowed the terrifying palm print directly. Rumble. The two collided. Runes shone brightly and splashed in all directions. There was a rumbling sound that resonated with heaven and earth. Walala, the whirlpool was too terrifying. Layers of mysterious runes erupted and swallowed the handprint that was powerful enough to destroy the surrounding space. Finally, the runes were destroyed and everything was swallowed up. The 9-revolution divine will technique. You're only practicing an incomplete version. You're just a half-step domain expert. You're nothing in my eyes. Even if you've reached the true domain realm, you're still weak. As the old woman spoke, the indestructible void vortex trembled and also turned into a palm that shot out like lightning. There wasn't much pressure, but as the divine light in the eyes of the 100-wheel ancestor was filled with fear, it suddenly swept towards his chest. Bang! 100-wheel-old ancestor's heart made a muffled sound. His huge body was destroyed and he returned to his original size. He spat out blood and his hair was messy. Instantly, his face turned pale. The Great Wheel Sect old ancestor has already reached the half-step to the domain realm, but he was unable to withstand a single blow from the old woman. She is a peerless expert. The experts in the distance were shocked. The words, half-step to the domain realm, were enough to intimidate Kyushu. At this moment, a half-step to the domain realm expert was unable to withstand a single blow from the old woman. How terrifying was that? That old woman is not simple. Her cultivation level is at least the same as the great elders, or perhaps even higher. The third elder's voice rang in Du Xiaofu's ears. I wonder what level the great elder's cultivation has reached? Du Xiaofu asked. At this moment he was deeply shocked. Initial domain realm, sealed domain realm, great domain realm, bounded domain realm, and finally the domain realm. The Great Wheel Sect old ancestor was at the half-step to the domain realm. Although it was not the real domain realm, it was a world of difference compared to the peak of the bounded domain realm. The Great Elder has recently stepped into the Overlord region. The third Elder's voice rang again. Overlord region. Du Xiaofu muttered. That was a level above the domain realm. It was equivalent to a legend. In this world, how many people could reach that level? Then, Du Xiaofu frowned. The Great Elder was at the Overlord region. Previously, when he met the 9 demon emperors outside the golden-winged Great Pengbird clan, they were at least at the Overlord region to be able to fight against the Great Elder. Moreover, he was only the 9th demon emperor. There were 8 more powerful demon emperors before him. How powerful were they? The strength of the devil religion was too strong. The third elder sighed and said to Du Xiaofu, the second elder has already stepped into the domain realm for many years. I am the only one who has not been able to comprehend wholeheartedly because of mundane matters. If the second elder was here today, you would have an easier time. I am sorry to have troubled the third elder. Du Xiaofu replied. Then he made a comparison. The third elder should be at the peak of the domain realm. However, he was able to fight against the Great Luin Sect's old ancestor who was half a step into the domain realm. This was already terrifying enough. At the domain realm, or the level between the domain realm and the domain realm, it was a huge gap. If an ordinary person wanted to fight against someone of a higher realm, it was tantamount to reaching the heavens. However, the third elder was able to fight the Great Luin Sect's old ancestor to a standstill. It seemed that he was able to injure the Great Luin Sect's old ancestor severely. This was enough to prove how terrifying the golden-winged Great Pengbird clan was. Are you rebelling? Do you want me to kill you today? Or do you want me to recognize you as my master? The old lady spoke and looked directly at the 100 Wheels old ancestor. Her eyes were cold. At this moment, if the 100 Wheels old ancestor shook his head, he would immediately be killed by the old lady. That old lady was definitely not a soft-hearted person. Chapter 1502. The 100-wheel old ancestor was shrouded in divine light as he looked at the old woman and Dongli Qingqing. Finally, he bowed to Dongli Qingqing and said, 100-wheel greets young Mississippi, what about you guys? The old woman looked at the disciples of the Great Wheel Sect. Her voice wasn't loud, but it made their hearts tremble. Greetings, young miss. Voices gathered inside and outside the Great Wheel Sect and soared into the sky. Although the disciples of the Great Wheel Sect didn't know what was going on, they didn't dare to resist since the ancient ancestor had already acknowledged her as his master. They saw that the old woman was able to injure the ancient ancestor in one move. Facing the bloody massacre of the Desolate Country Alliance, they also hoped that the old woman could resist the demon king Du Xiaofu. Ming Su, Dao Su, and the others also bowed their heads. Although they were unwilling, they couldn't say anything since the 100-wheel ancient ancestor had already bowed his head. Dongli Chuang's eyes flickered as he sized up Dongli Qingqing. Oh my God, the Great Wheel Sect is only that woman's servant. What's going on? The experts in the surroundings were shocked. Everything had exceeded everyone's expectations. The Great Wheel Sect that stood tall in the central region was only someone's servant. What kind of mysterious and terrifying background did that beautiful woman have? However, to the Sky Snake Sect and Spirit Sky Valley, this scene caused their expressions to turn ugly. That mysterious beautiful woman was obviously related to Du Xiaofu. Now that the ancient ancestor of the Great Wheel Sect had acknowledged her as his master, once the Great Wheel Sect withdrew, the Sky Snake Sect and Spirit Sky Valley wouldn't be able to stop the Demon King Du Xiaofu. That clan still has a bloodline. The third elder of the golden-winged Great Rock clan said softly. He seemed to know something which made him even more surprised. Du Xiaofu looked at everything that had happened. It was also beyond his expectations. He had never thought that the Great Wheel Sect was related to Dongli Qingqing. The dignified Great Luin Sect was only a servant of her clan. Back in the Sky Thunder Mountain Range, Du Xiaofu had heard from Fu Yibai that the ancestor of the Great Wheel Sect had a master back then. From the looks of it, Fu Yibai was referring to the people of Dongli Qingqing's clan. So the Great Wheel Sect is just a servant. What a bunch of bullshit. Du Xiaoqing spoke with a loud voice. It was as if she was doing this on purpose, spreading throughout the Great Wheel sect. This caused the faces of the Great Wheel sect's experts to turn ugly. Many of them glared at Du Xiaoqing. However, Du Xiaoqing did not care at all. She did not care about the gazes around her. She rushed to the front of Dongli Qingqing and said, "Sister Qingqing, your servant Dongli Xiaonyao has repeatedly gone against my brother. He killed the disciples of the desolate country, the heavenly beast hall, and the world society. Can you execute him?" After hearing Du Xiaoqing's words and seeing that Du Xiaoqing and the mysterious beauty clearly had an extraordinary relationship, the faces of the people of the Great Wheel sect turned even uglier. Even Dongli Qiwang's face twitched violently. It's her. I never thought that she would have such a background. Shui Ruhan and many others had been looking at Dongli Qingqing. Back in the Tianhuang mainland, many of them had seen her appear beside Du Xiaofu. Back then, no one had thought that the woman would be the sect leader of the Great Wheel sect. Dongli Qingqing smiled at Du Xiaoqing. She then looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "Xiaofu, I will give you an explanation for the grudge between you and the Great Wheel sect. However, can you retreat first?" Du Xiaofu looked around. The battle in the sky was still raging. The strongest experts of the Profound Talisman sect and the Ancient Sky sect were still fighting with the experts of the Spirit Sky Valley and the Sky Snake sect. His eldest brother, Zhen Qingchun, had used the six-wheel blood-killing array to fight against the elite from the Great Wheel sect. The Great Wheel sect has repeatedly killed the disciples of the desolate country. You need to give me an explanation now. Du Xiaofu smiled bitterly at Dongli Qingqing and shook his head. Back then, the Great Wheel sect had supported Qing Fancher of the Stone Dragon Empire and started a massacre in the Stone City. After that, the Great Wheel sect had repeatedly targeted him. This time, the Great Wheel sect had plotted against him several times. The Great Wheel sect had plotted against him several times. The Great Wheel sect had dyed the central region's long river with blood. This made Du Xiaofu unable to retreat. "Kid, you seem to have improved a lot in these years. However, retreat. With the people behind you, you won't be able to touch the Great Wheel sect today." The old woman said. The Great Wheel sect had already recognized a master. She had to protect the Great Wheel sect. She had seen Du Xiaofu and secretly observed him. However, she was still very shocked at this moment. Hearing the old woman's words, the 100-Wheel sect leader smiled secretly. Everything was as he had expected. "Today, my golden-winged Great Rock clan wants to touch the Great Wheel sect. So what?" The third elder said. He knew that the old woman's cultivation was powerful. However, he was fearless and did not back down. Golden-winged Great Rock clan. The old woman looked at the third elder. Her eyes were filled with emotions. She knew that the clan was powerful and terrifying. Back in the Savage Beast Mountain range, she had wanted to obtain the bones and blood of the golden-winged Great Rock for her disciple. However, the mysterious woman had intervened. Her strength was so strong that she could not do anything. She had calculated everything and divined the mysteries of the heavens, but she had not divined that the mysterious woman would intervene. Her efforts had been in vain. The mysterious woman was too terrifying. Even when she had divined the mysteries of the heavens, she had not been able to divine her figure. The golden-winged Great Rock clan is very powerful. However, you don't seem to be enough. The old woman looked at the third elder and saw his cultivation level. "I know the origin of your clan. Even when your clan was at its peak, you had to back down in front of the golden-winged Great Rock clan. Not to mention now." The third elder's eyes flickered with golden light. As a member of the golden-winged Great Rock clan, he did not fear any force in the world. Hearing this, the old woman's eyes were filled with emotions. She knew how domineering the golden-winged Great Rock clan was. Even if they did not fear these golden-winged Great Rock clans today, they would probably attract even more powerful golden-winged Great Rock clans. With the current situation of the clan, it was indeed impossible for them to fight against the entire golden-winged Great Rock clan. "Xiaofu, how do you want me to explain myself to you? Do you really want me to fight to the end?" Dongli Qingqing opened her mouth. Her tall and graceful figure was enshrouded by the green light around her body. Dongli Qingqing looked at Du Xiaofu. The Great Luan sect was left behind by her clan. At this moment, she could not bear to see the Great Luan sect being destroyed. However, she did not want to fight with him. Her fairy-like face was carved with beautiful facial features. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a green light. She also saw Yi Zijin, Ouyang Shuang, and the enchanting woman behind Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu looked at Dongli Qingqing. The Great Luan sect was left behind by her clan. Could it be that they were really going to fight to the end today? That terrifying old woman would definitely not stand by and watch. If they continued to fight, they would not be able to gain any advantage. I can retreat before the Great Luan sect. However, Dongli Qihuang must die today. Du Xiaofu said. This was the bottom line. The main culprit was Dongli Qihuang. He was a remnant soul that had lived 2 lives. He must be destroyed. Hearing this, Dongli Qingqing looked at Dongli Qihuang. Everyone looked at Dongli Qihuang. The Eastern mythical Scarlet Phoenix's face continued to darken. It was getting uglier and uglier. It stared coldly at Du Xiaofu. Chapter 1503. Dongli Qihuang is the reincarnated saint of the Great Luan sect. He has already achieved nirvana. Do you think you can touch him just because you want to? The 100-wheel ancestor spoke. His voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. His gaze swept across the old woman and Dongli Qingqing. The old woman's expression changed slightly, but she did not seem too surprised. She had already heard about it. Du Xiaofu, do you think you are qualified to kill me? Do you really think that the golden-winged Great Rock clan is invincible? In this world, the golden-winged Great Rock clan is not necessarily invincible. Dongli Qihuang glared at Du Xiaofu. The coldness in his eyes was not concealed. Dongli Qingqing looked at Dongli Qihuang. She could feel the coldness in his eyes and the murderous intent in his body. Her red lips parted slightly. Just as she was about to speak, a voice came from not far away. Excuse me, everyone. Allow me to say 2 things. These are related to the Great Luan sect. Please forgive me. The voice came from Qing Xingnan. Her beautiful figure walked out. She looked holy and noble. She opened her mouth slightly and said, My third brother Chengchao is not qualified to be the leader of the Great Luan sect in terms of talent or cultivation. I hereby withdraw from the Great Luan sect. I have devoted myself to cultivation and have cut off all worldly affairs. I have let senior brother Dongli down. I do not want to delay senior brother Dongli any longer. Therefore, the engagement is annulled. I hope senior brother Dongli can find another wife. As Cheng Xingnan finished speaking, she bowed deeply. The surroundings were silent. Everyone could tell that Qing Xingnan of the Divine Light Court wanted to leave with Cheng Chao. He also wanted to annul the engagement with Dongli Qihuang. He did not want to have anything to do with the Great Luan sect. Dongli Qihuang was already sullen enough today. Now that Cheng Xingnan had annulled the engagement, it was no doubt rubbing salt on the wound. Cheng Chao was beside Qing Xingnan. At this moment, his body was trembling and his eyes were lifeless. Everything that had happened today was beyond Cheng Chao's imagination. He was still unable to calm down. Dongli Qihuang's engagement was annulled. I heard that back then, Qing Xingnan and the Demon King Du Xiaofu had quite a lot of connections. If not for the appearance of Dongli Qihuang, I'm afraid that Qing Xingnan would have become the emperor of the desolate country. The tragic Dongli Qihuang is really unlucky today. The discussions in the surrounding crowd could not escape the primordial spirits of many powerhouses present. They could hear them clearly. The corners of Dongli Qihuang's eyes twitched as he stared at Qing Xingnan. His body trembled slightly. Being rejected in front of Kyushu was tantamount to slapping his face. Then their expressions changed. The descendant of that clan is barely worthy of the young clan leader of the golden-winged Great Rock clan. The 5th elder, Jialo Yuantu, nodded with interest. His voice was very loud, and many people could hear it clearly. Xiaofu, what nonsense are you talking about? In the air, Dongli Qingqing was stunned for a while. There was a strange fluctuation in the depths of her eyes. Isn't that bewitching woman by his side? Why is he still saying these things? Could it be that he already knows what happened after he was affected by the illusion? Thinking of this, Dong Li Qingqing's beautiful face instantly flushed red. The days in her heart also began to fade gradually. Those words made her shy, but she was extremely happy when she heard them. You are my woman. I have already said this in Tianhuang mainland. In my heart this will not change. Du Xiaofu interrupted Dong Li Qingqing's words. A faint smile spread across his face. Don't mention this again. Let's talk about it in the future. Dong Li Qingqing's beautiful face flushed even redder. It was as if water could be squeezed out of it. Her gaze hinted at Du Xiaofu intentionally or unintentionally. Her master was still standing behind her, and she did not want to continue this topic with Du Xiaofu. Dong Li Qingqing understood Du Xiaofu very well. Once that guy said something, he would not hide it. At that time, it would be even more embarrassing. Thinking that he might have known what happened after the illusion, Dong Li Qingqing's face flushed even more. All right, let's talk about these private matters when we get back. Du Xiaofu said very seriously. Looking at Dong Li Qingqing, he said sternly, the Great Will sect is your servant, so I can withdraw my troops today. However, this Dong Li Qihuang is extremely vicious. He is full of evil tricks and is evil. I'm afraid he is not convinced by you. If there is a chance, he might take a bite out of you. I don't intend to let you keep a poisonous snake by your side. He also has to pay the price for the fallen disciples of the Huang country. Therefore, Dong Li Qihuang must die today. The redness on Dong Li Qingqing's exquisite face gradually faded. She returned to normal and looked at Dong Li Qihuang again. There must be a story. It would be strange if there wasn't. Looking at the conversation between Du Xiaofu and Dong Li Qingqing, it would be strange if there wasn't a story. Cheng Xingnan looked at Dong Li Qingqing. As a woman, she could feel that there was definitely an unusual relationship between the two of them. She was his woman. It was as if she had tacitly agreed to it. At this moment, for some reason, Cheng Xingnan felt a little uncomfortable. Suddenly, Du Xiaofu's rock's chaos-crushing claw twisted the void and grabbed Dong Li Qihuang by his waist. He was like a fish caught by an eagle's claw. Dong Li Qihuang was shocked. Resplendent divine light burst out from his body. A terrifying force surged in his body, trying to break free. Bang! Du Xiaofu waved his hand and threw Dong Li Qihuang down from the sky. Dong Li Qihuang's body was smashed into a mountain like a stone. A mountain was destroyed, and Dong Li Qihuang's body was buried by the huge mountain. The earth rumbled, the mountains shook, and huge rocks rolled down. This scene was shocking, leaving everyone dumbstruck like wooden chickens, their hearts trembling with fear. The dignified Nirvana Realm's supreme Dong Li Qihuang attacked with his full strength. His strongest attack was like playing house in front of the Demon King Du Xiaofu. He was not a match for Du Xiaofu at all. He was once again trampled to the point where no one knew if he was dead or alive. The experts of the Great Wheel sect were originally very confident. They believed that no one in the same generation as Dong Li Qihuang would be a match for him. No one could defeat a Nirvana Realm Supreme. However, they never thought that Dong Li Qihuang, who they thought would be unbeatable among the same generation, would be trampled again. Goo goo. The surroundings were silent for a few breaths of time. Then, countless gasps of cold air could be heard. Some people's throats were dry, and they swallowed their saliva. The Demon King Du Xiaofu had disappeared for many years. After his return, he had caused a lot of commotion. He had even defeated the intelligent sword sect's domain lord Jianhong with a single strike. In the previous battle, he had also killed many experts who had just reached the martial domain realm. The Spirit Sky Valley's domain lord had also been killed. However, none of this was as shocking as the scene just now. After the Demon King Du Xiaofu had returned, no one knew how powerful he was. It was unfathomable. However, just now, the Nirvana Realm's supreme Dong Li Qihuang had also been trampled and could not withstand a single blow. Only then did everyone know that the Demon King had completely returned. He was still the invincible and ferocious Demon King. The Demon King Du Xiaofu is still Kyushu's #1 among the younger generation. Mu Jianchen, Bailey Wia, Mu Qingge and the others spoke. What's so great about the Nirvana Realm Supreme? Now that Martial Uncle Du has returned, Dongli Chihuang can't withstand a single blow. The disciples of the ancient heaven sect were excited. Ever since Dongli Chihuang's Nirvana realm supreme, the entire central continent had been talking about the rise of the Great Luan sect. The other 8 mountain sects had been suppressed by public opinion. The ancient heaven sect naturally felt the pressure. When they walked out of the ancient heaven sect, they could clearly feel that the outside world was more enthusiastic about the Great Luan sect than the ancient heaven sect. However, the purple-robed youth who walked out of the ancient heaven sect was also a disciple of the ancient heaven sect. Dongli Chihuang could not withstand a single blow. The young hall master is mighty and unbeatable. The disciples of the 7-star hall were also excited. The return of the young hall master had truly told Kyushu that he was still Kyushu's number 1 among the younger generation. Dongli Chihuang can't withstand a single blow. The Nirvana realm supreme is bullshit. The disciples of the Profound Talisman sect and the Profound Underworld sect were happy. The Profound Talisman sect and the Desolate Country had always been allies, so it was reasonable for them to be excited at this moment. However, the disciples of the Profound Underworld sect were naturally unhappy when Du Xiaofu charged into the Underworld Lake. However, the Profound Underworld sect was now on the same side as the Desolate Country. Naturally, they had an extremely good impression of the purple-robed youth. The president is still as mighty as ever. The disciples of the World Society were extremely excited. Some of them shouted in a trembling voice. There were even some elders whose faces were stained with blood from the fierce battle. They were so happy that their bodies were trembling. Third brother is invincible. The younger generation of the Du family were so excited that their blood was boiling. Some of the elders of the Du family who had participated in the battle couldn't help but want to shout out loud. The Du family had completely risen. The third brother of the Du family's new generation had shone the brightest in the Great Will sect that Kyushu was paying attention to. Cheng Chao was stunned. The invincible brother-in-law in his heart, Dongli Chihuang, had actually been thrown aside by the purple-robed youth. Didn't the Nirvana realm supreme mean that one was invincible? Cheng Chao couldn't understand why Dongli Chihuang couldn't withstand a single blow today. Cheng Xingnan looked at the sky calmly. However, his gaze was fixed on the purple-robed youth, and he didn't retract his gaze for a long time. The eyes of everyone trembled. The Demon King, Du Xiaofu, was the number 1 among the younger generation of the Middle States several years ago. His battle results were brilliant. Among the younger generation, the Demon King had never been defeated. Back then, the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, had killed the Dragon 9 and defeated the extraordinary experts of the 9 great families. Kyushu's extraordinary peers had made him the leader of the 12 divine heroes, and his name had shaken the entire Kyushu. Until now, those opportunities were still being talked about by people. What kind of storm was that? The aura was like 10,000 thunderbolts, sonorous and shaking the 9 heavens. In an instant, the faint shadow of a golden dragon circled around Du Xiaofu. It was like a holy relic. The heavenly might filled the air, and it was like a king descending to the world. The power was too terrifying. It made everyone's face change color and tremble. The heavenly might made people tremble. That seems to be the Imperial Palace's Dragon Chi. Someone exclaimed. The terrifying golden aura was the Imperial Palace's Dragon Chi. Du Xiaofu was in the sky, holding a nimble longsword. It was the Tyrant Shadow, the Desolate Country's national treasure. The life seal refined from the Tyrant Shadow was also Du Xiaofu's life weapon. Swoosh! Du Xiaofu directly slashed down with the sword. In the vast sky, a mysterious power seeped out from the world, and finally gathered in front of the sword light. The sword swept out, containing the Tyrant Way of the Sword and the Imperial Palace's Dragon Chi. The void was filled with golden light. In the end, the sword light directly turned into the shadow of a golden dragon. The golden dragon was almost 10,000 feet in size. It was majestic and ferocious. Accompanied by the power of the world, it swept directly toward Dongli Chihuang's terrifying palm print. The moment the sword light appeared, it was supported by the Imperial Palace's Dragon Chi. It was the convergence of the country's fate and the condensed faith of countless subjects. It made the whole world tremble, and the surrounding creatures trembled violently. How can the imperial palace's dragon chi be so strong? Countless experts were shocked. The imperial palace's dragon chi was too terrifying. It was not the ordinary imperial palace's dragon chi. It was accompanied by the power of the world, and it was difficult for mortals to resist. The shadow of the golden dragon galloped, and the imperial palace's dragon chi surged. The vast expanse of the sky surged. A terrifying aura erupted and swept out in all directions. The wind and clouds in all directions directly collided with the terrifying palm print. Dong Liqiuang's palm print did not last long before it shattered. It could not stop the huge golden dragon. Roar! The golden dragon soared through the sky, and the dragon's roar shook one's soul. It directly crashed into Dong Liqiuang's huge body. Bang, 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 bang. In an instant, Dong Liqiuang's huge body exploded, and the divine halo on his body also shattered. A terrifying aura swept out, causing lightning to flash and thunder to rumble in the sky. It made one's soul tremble. The surrounding space also exploded, and the abyss below appeared. The river flowed backward. This terrifying scene was as if the world was about to be destroyed. Dong Liqiuang's huge body exploded, and finally returned to his original appearance. The energy armor on his body also dimmed. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. His whole body was dim. Hide? You're overestimating that kid. If he can find help, can't the Divine Light Court find help as well? An elder spoke. Then, he asked Xinguang Heavenly Sovereign, who was sitting in the main seat, "Courtmaster, have the emissaries of the devil religion replied? When will they come to help?" "The emissaries of the devil religion haven't sent a letter yet, but I believe they will come. With the devil religion around, there's no need to fear the golden-winged great rocks," Xinguang Heavenly Sovereign said. But at this moment his expression was very complicated. Last time, the people of the devil religion had assured him that Du Xiaofu would definitely die, and that the golden-winged great rocks wouldn't be able to protect him. But now, not only was the demon king Du Xiaofu not dead, but he had also returned to the central state in such a strong manner. Woo-woo! Suddenly, the divine light court trembled. The earth shook and the mountains shook. A sharp alarm sounded in all directions, shaking people's souls. Could it be that the demon king has come so quickly? Everyone in the main hall trembled. That was the alarm of the divine light court, which wouldn't sound unless there was a crisis. Swoosh, swoosh, one by one, the figures in the hall disappeared from the hall. Outside the divine light court, huge cities were connected, and mountains overlapped. Boom! 4 skeletal puppets of the Snake clan crossed the sky, like giant dragons. There were nearly 10,000 figures in the air, coming with a strong momentum, surging all the way. The creatures in the huge cities below trembled and looked up at the sky, as if doomsday was coming. Blood for blood, blood for blood. Dong Li Diao, Lin Weiqi, Tao Yu, and the others crossed the sky, their killing intent surging. Behind them, the disciples of the 7-star hall gathered. They had endured for so many years, so that one day, they could step into the divine light court like this, and pay blood for blood. Activate the formation. In the mountains in front, there was a loud shout, and a large formation was activated. Du Xiaofu, do you really want to force your way into the divine light court? I'm afraid you'll have to pay the price in blood. In the air in front, the voice of Xinguang Heavenly Lord came. Du Xiaofu didn't speak. His purple robe fluttered, wrapped in golden light, and his figure crossed the sky. He waved his hand, and the purple gold heavenly palace swept out, swinging his sword. Boom! This sword was wrapped in mysterious runes. Wherever the sword light passed, the ground cracked, revealing the abyss. The dazzling purple gold runes and light shone brightly, shocking and containing destruction. Rumble! The formation that enveloped the inside and outside of the divine light court was instantly slashed open by the sword. Cracks began to appear, and the terrifying formation directly exploded.